All right, everyone, help me welcome Matthew and Lexi Stewart!
There we go. That's right, because it's going to be you up here. It's going to be you up here. That's right. Okay, this is my lovely bride, Lexi. They don't have another mic, so we'll have to...
Hello.
Yes. So what we want to share with you, it's kind of interesting how it all dovetailed. It wasn't really planned. Brent's like, hey, come up, and we want you guys to speak. And, okay, what do you want us to speak on? Just pray about it. We're like, okay, yeah, we'll do that. So what's interesting is we didn't even know what segment we were going to talk on or any, when and where and when he was going to fit us in and so forth.
I still don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah. It's going to be good, though. So, but anyway, some of the things that I heard just recently in the second half is the aspect is creating margin. Most realtors, it's amazing. We talk about this all the time, right? Now, what did we do when we first got married?
We were totally broke and had to get out of debt.
Yeah, and so we went through FPU, Financial Peace University, Dave Ramsey. It transformed our lives. We ended up teaching it at our class, at our church, Bridgeway in Roseville. And what it allowed us to do is when we saw the EXP model, it gave us margin in our lives. It allowed us both margin in time and money, didn't need to do as much production, could focus more on agent attraction and some of those things and getting that freedom. And it's amazing that we talk to, Lexi meets with big hitting realtors all the time, being a title rep, and it's amazing that they do so many deals, but they don't have margin in their life, right? You heard some of them up here going, gosh, it takes the pressure off the house payment and so on. But they're bringing in $800,000, $500,000 a year, and we've gone through this FPU. And
I meet with agents all the time where they tell me that an extra $500 a month would be huge. It would change their lives.
Right? So what we're going to go through real quickly is the aspect. I'm going to have you hold this, babe. Some of you, as you're getting excited to do revenue share, you're like, okay, well, how do I start it? Where do we go? What do I say? What do I do? All these different things. And you've had a lot of information, but I kind of want to boil it down and simplify it a little bit for you. And I must admit, I did not come up with this. This is the legend, Gene Frederick, right, who actually Brent's in his organization. So you might think he probably knows a few things. Gene's pretty amazing. He actually sold 7 brokerages and a region when he saw this about 7 years ago or so, right? And it has a huge organization. But one of the things that he said is when you're meeting with someone, the first thing that you want to do is you want to T-M-A-Y, T-M-A-Y. Tell me about yourself. That gets the conversation. And listen. Don't interject. Don't EXP on them. Listen to them. Know who they are. What are they all about, right? So you want to definitely do that. And depending on the personality style, right, some of them will go really long, like a high I. A D will be done in like 2-3 minutes. Like, hey, that's me. Boom, boom, boom. What do you got? Let's cut to the chase, right? So it's kind of funny in that regard. But after they get done telling you about themselves, you want to go and get into the aspect of the history of real estate. Now, some of the people that have been in here a while, the leaders know the history of real estate. I actually didn't know this until Gene shared it at our event that we had not too long ago. Who was the big player in the 1970s, brokerage? Century 21, the Gold Coats, right? The 1970s, okay? 1980s, who was the big player? Usually about every decade there's a big player, right? Remax, 1980s. Okay, 1990s. Keller Williams, okay? Oh, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. You're right. Who else? 1990s. Yeah, Realogy, right? Coldwell Banker, so on. I started my career in 95 with Coldwell Banker. And then in the 2000s, who was it? Keller Williams. So what you kind of want to do, you show that up, babe. I thought we'd have a whiteboard. But you just kind of draw this out, right? 1970s, Century 21, 1980s, boom, boom, boom. Now, you could talk to a top producer and be somewhat of a new agent and go into the history of real estate. They're not going to ask you, how many deals did you do last year? It totally changes the conversation. It edifies you just because of your knowledge, and most realtors don't know these things, okay? So the 1990s was Realogy. 2000s was Keller Williams, right? What's interesting is they measure companies' growth by big companies in real estate, by how long it takes them to get to 20,000 agents. Now, Remax was just broke all records, shocked everyone. They got to 20,000 agents And does anybody know how many years it took them to get to 20,000 agents? No, 20. 20 years to get to 20,000 agents, right? And then what was interesting is you fast forward to Keller Williams in the 2000s, which I was a part of, down here in the Roseville, Sacramento area, and had a great run. Was there for a decade and so on. It was an amazing growth. They blew the record out of the water. They did 20,000 agents in 19 years. So a whole year earlier. No, that was like shocking. You go, oh my gosh, that was amazing, right? And then fast forward in the 2010s, who's the big player in 2010s for real estate brokerage? Come on. No, EXP, 2010s. 2010s, okay? 2010s to the 20s was EXP, okay? Let's show that. It says it right there, okay? So from 2010 to 2020, EXP shot through the roof. Now, do you know how long it took them to get to 20,000 agents? 10. So they didn't just blow it out of the water by 1 year. They blew it out of the water by 10 years. Okay? Now, what's interesting is you take Keller Williams' growth in the last 3 years. We'll give them a little bit more. They've done about 3,000 net growth of agents, roughly, in 3 years. Do you know in that same time, that's worldwide, the same time, EXP has grown over 60,000 agents. Okay? Wow. So you guys should be super excited about what you're involved with and be super confident about what you're sharing with people because it's never been done before in real estate. Now, another thing that I'll let you hold on to that there, and then maybe we could show it around. But what I want you to do, you take notes because this is important. I wish you had a mic, babe. But, all right? I know. So draw a line down the middle of your sheet, okay? And this is when you're meeting with your prospect or what have you. You're going to kind of share with them some of the differences between, let's compare KW, which was the one that set the records, and then EXP. And what's interesting, and this is why it's game over already before we've even really started to scratch the scratch. Keller Williams has, well, let me ask you this. Would you work harder for commission or would you work harder as a salary-based employee? Always commission, right? You'll always work harder for commission, 100%. What's interesting is Keller Williams has about 860 team leaders. They are hired as an employee to recruit. That is their job to grow a brokerage, okay? And so there's about 850, 860 of them, something like that, 820, somewhere in there. What's interesting is on the EXP side, there's only about 10% of agents within EXP that actually are recruiting well. Now, you guys are not included in here because you've taken the time on a Sunday. You're going to learn the skills. You're going to implement and so on. But the majority of agents at EXP, we have about 86,000 agents. 10% would be how much? 8,600 agents, right? So wait a minute. We have 860 team leaders that are employed to recruit. That's their job, employee mindset. And we have 8,600 agents that are rock star recruiters and don't get paid a dime in regards to employee, but it's for their family's financial future. You heard them. Brent keeps parading them up here because he wants to build your belief that you can do this too and you should go take it because the time is now. Does that make sense? Does that help? So it kind of looks like this, right? You draw the line. You got KW, 820 team leaders, salary mindset, 85,000 agents, 8,500 because 10%. And it's game over because 8,600 agents are all doing it for their own families and commission. Okay, now, lastly, we want to build belief in regards to how important even just taking advantage of rev share just a little bit is, okay? It's a big deal regarding finances, and this kind of goes into our FPU and getting margin and so on. Some people have mentioned it up here earlier today that if you had, by the way, you don't have to raise your hands, but just to yourself, $900,000 sitting in the bank for retirement at 4% that you draw out, okay, for your retirement is $3,600 a year, okay, or $3,000 or $3,600 a month. $36,000 a year, $3,600 a month or so, okay? Now, that doesn't seem like a lot of money. That probably would pay a house payment for most people, maybe car, things of that nature. Take the pressure off. You had rockstar realtors go, hey, it would take the pressure off on a house payment. That's very real for people, right? And this is a people business. Now, what's interesting, on your first level, if you just hire or recruit 6 people in your business, just 6, okay? Could be over 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 1 a year, whatever, maybe throw an extra in. And they are cappers. They're doing about 6, 7, 8, 9 deals a year, okay? Not blowing the barn doors off. But in the first level, we get $2,800 per agent. Okay, I wish I had a whiteboard so you could visually see all this. But it works out to be $16,800, okay? Now, let's say they each did what you did, and they just brought in 1 agent each. That would be 6 on your second level. Follow me now? We have 6 on our first level, 6 on our second level, 12 total. It's not like we're, blowing the barn doors off this thing. The second level pays us more, $3,200 per agent. So that works out to be $19,200. Now, what's interesting is you have 12 total agents. If you total the $16,800 in level 1 and the $19,200 in level 2, that works out to, surprisingly, $36,000 a year, which would equate to you having $900,000 of retirement in your bank account that you could draw out at 4% interest. Do the math, okay? Gene Frederick's former corporate bean counter, he's done the math, so I trust his math, okay? But that's $36,000 a year, $3,000 a month. Now, if you want to take it one step further, and we'll finish with this, is do you know what it would equate to in regards to EXP Rev Share, what you would need to do to create this to have $4,500,000 in the bank? If you were listening to Sean's presentation earlier, he actually mentioned it, but he shared a lot. It might have gone fast. But $4,500,000 in your retirement account, right? Drawing 4% a year, that's $180,000 a year, okay, that you could live on in retirement or what have you, okay? Now, I know some of you used to living off more, but this is no longer hustling on the treadmill to earn that money. This is, retirement. That's about $15,000 a month. What did Frank Crandall just mention up here that changed his life? And he got the car, paid cash, $15,000 a month. Can you earn more with EXP? Absolutely. But $15,000 is pretty darn life-changing. What does it take to do it? Okay. First level, how many people?
10 people.
Just 10. Just 10. Now, these are cappers doing, 7, 8, 9 deals a year. That's $2,800 per agent on level 1. That's $28,000. So if you're writing this down, level 1, $28,000. Second level, let's say they each did what you did over a period of time. 4, 5, 6 years, whatever. They're doing 2 a year for 5 years. But if they each did that, that's 100 agents on level 2. So your total's 110 agents. Could be over 5 years, could be over 8, could be 10 years. Could do it in a couple months, like Brent did, okay? There is no limit. But your total's going to be 110 agents. Again, we get paid on level 2 for level 2 agents, $3,200. That's the cap, the max. So I'm assuming these are all capping type agents. That works out to be 100 times 3,200 is $320,000. You'll see this in the video. It's mentioned in the video. But what's interesting, 320,000 plus the 28 is about 350,000. It's 348, okay? Now, if we cut that in half, let's say they're not all cappers, because it's fair, some agents are going to do 1 or 2 deals or 3 or whatever in your organization. That's going to be $180,000 a year, okay? What's your total organization? 110. 110. Gail's done that in less than a year, right? Maybe you're not as good as Gail. Maybe it takes you 2 years. Maybe it takes you 4 years. But you have $180,000 a year, which equates to $15,000 a month. Now, what's interesting is we talk to agents all the time, and it's amazing. They're making these big commission checks. $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. I sell luxury. Oh my gosh, that's nothing money. But it's transactional treadmill money. They're literally waking up every morning, putting their running shoes on, getting on that treadmill, and they run, baby. They run. I'm going to go get that $30,000 check. But they're only as good as their last sale. And most of them understand up here the value of residual income, but most of them have never experienced it. You tell them, oh, I know about it. Yeah. Residuals, great. Well, how much do you got? Well, and you start really, if they were honest with you, you realize they don't got much. They got it as much as their last sale, and they're just hustling. So to be able to create a $15,000, that's $4,500,000 in your account, right? Retirement. at a 4% with only 110 agents. So hopefully that helps build belief for you guys that you guys can do this. I know it's a lot of numbers. I expected to have a whiteboard. Any questions after come up, I'll break it down for you. But yeah.
Give him a hand, you guys. Well done, buddy. Good job.